Howdy, folks. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. We are joined by Pete Weber, the play-by-play announcer of the Nashville Predators, who's been on the show a few times before. Pete, we do a little bit of a pre-show here, and then we'll reintroduce you. But Russ usually carries the ball when it comes to the pre-show topics.
Well, first one is Jed Lowry. You know, the guy that had like 7 at-bats last year for the Mets. Mm-hmm. They spent about $10 million on him. And then he came into camp after, Brody Van Wagen and the GM kept saying he's progressing nicely. Things are coming along. Then all of a sudden it was like, well, hold on. He's got this big leg brace, but he was taking ground balls. Okay. That was about 2 weeks ago. Now when somebody went and asked him, hey, Jed, how you doing? Oh, you're going to have to talk to the team about that.
Jeez.
So sounds like Jed Lowry is going to get bought out. And so, again, if I have to hear from people, he says, I have to refer you to the organization. If I have to hear people for any sport tell me anymore that, well, this guy's a low-risk signing, it's not that much money. Yeah, but now this is like $20 million that they got 7 at-bats for.
Pete, it sounds like money.
No hits.
It sounds like money is well spent, as Michael Bloomberg did to win American Samoa yesterday. Uh-oh, did we lose Pete?
Maybe we did.
Oh, no.
Well, there was a bigger plan there, Mike, and you don't want to hear about that. So we'll move on to the next.
Yeah, he quit today, Russ. So
I figured that. I don't think he expected to win. I don't think that was the real plan.
Well,
so that's a topic for another day. But we also have the rumors now about Tom Brady.
Yes.
So Tom Brady, many think won't go back to the Patriots. Now, he could just be playing possum and seeing what he can get out there to make the Patriots pay more.
I still think it's that. But
that's still possible.
Yeah.
But the 49ers have interest in him now. And if he were to go to the 49ers, then basically you'd be talking about Jimmy Garoppolo probably going back to the Patriots.
Yeah, I heard that, and right now, I mean, I know that I think it was
people think that there's a real chance of that.
I know that Tom Curran, who's a reporter for the Boston Herald, I believe, who covers the Patriots, floated that, and it's been out there for a couple other outlets. Yeah. I find that like sort of too good to be true, because we know that Belichick didn't want to trade Jimmy G, and now if Brady does go someplace like San Francisco, and he's from Northern California, that it would almost be too perfect that Belichick would get his quarterback back.
Well, his belief was, hey, that basically with Jimmy G, the reason he only signed a 2-year deal is because Belichick was planning for Brady's inevitable demise, and that he would come back.
Right.
And because he could be bought out for no money, which you have to believe is a bad move by Garoppolo's agent, unless there was this other plan in place, which I do think there's a chance, because why wouldn't you have a buyout of some sort?
Yeah, I mean, we know that there are contracts that are I don't know what the heck that was. Contracts that are 7 or 8 years in length that have opt-outs after 2 or 3 years, and I don't know if they have that. There is that ability with NFL contracts. I know it is in place in MLB contracts, and I believe NBA contracts as well.
Yeah, no, NFL ones do have it, but the interesting thing here is this is doesn't cost against the cap anything buyout, like not buyout, but they could just drop Garoppolo and it doesn't count anything towards the cap. So. Yeah. You have to believe there was another plan here to have that kind of escape hatch.
Yeah, but I mean, I hear a story a day about Brady. He's going to
actually. I haven't. So
yeah, no. He's going to Tennessee. He's going to Tampa Bay. He's going to Vegas. He's going to the Chargers. Now it's the 49ers. In the end, until I see him in another uniform, I think he's going back to the Patriots. I mean, maybe I'm and we both have vested interests here, because the Jets are an improving team. The Bills made the playoffs last year. If it is a Brady-less Patriots team, I don't care if Belichick's the best coach in the world. If they're starting that 4th-round pick from last year or Andy Dalton, I'm not scared of the Patriots anymore.
No, and nobody will be. But Garoppolo would make them still a formidable team.
Right. And just going back on baseball for a second before Pete's had to restart his computer, so he'll be back in a minute.
Okay.
Just to touch on baseball for a second, I do not want to hear ever again anybody say that the New York Yankees are.
How can you come up with a new
No!
spiel here?
No, I'm not. Because
Can you please stop whining?
Now they're saying Aaron Judge is going to be out for the beginning of the year.
But we knew that yesterday.
No, but we didn't talk about it.
I did. I mentioned it, and then yes, you forget now. We talked about Aaron Judge yesterday. Because when you said there were only, hold on, I'm going to recap it for you. When you said, well, there's 3 guys, and you said the names, and I said, and Aaron Judge, and you were like, well, I was going to go there next. And then maybe we didn't go fully there, but we went there because I mentioned Aaron Judge would be one of the guys out.
But the story has moved forward. Because
No, it hasn't. It's the same as yesterday. He's out. You're not seeing him opening day. Tough luck.
Hello, Hockey World. Today is Wednesday, March the 4th, 2020.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology, and man, just come up with a new story, Mike.
And no, Funky, it's not steroids. Aaron Judge is clean. And this is the hockey, and I'm Michael Agello, and this is the Hockey Buzzcast here at HockeyBuzz.com. Unlike Pete Alonso.
Right. There you go.
So we'll have Pete Weber in a second whenever his computer gets back up. Let's just start. We want to talk to Pete about the Predators and about the tornado that hit in the Nashville area. I'll put into the blog for the show. I think Paul McCann, who is our Nashville blogger for Hockey Buzz, put the contact information to donate for relief for some of the people who lost their homes.
That's great.
We definitely should. People. I'm just suggesting. If you can do it, please do, because those people need your help. But I'll put that in our blog after the show. We'll start with this just because I don't want to talk to Pete about the Leafs. The game last night between the Leafs and San Jose.
Well, at least if you did talk about the Leafs, you wouldn't be whining about all these injuries. Because Riley's back, so
no, he's not. He didn't play.
He's skating with them.
Well, he's skating. So is CC. So is Mikheyev, but they're not back yet, and they still have this interim of a week or a week or so before they do get their players back. And Pete has joined us. Hold on, Pete. Let me just talking to the mic because Oh, there you go. Now I can hear you. Yeah, I didn't hear you before. Okay, so let's start with what's going on in Nashville. Like I said, I'm going to put the contact information from Paul McCann's blog for donations for what happened there. And I mean, Pete, it sounds. I mean, I've seen the video. It seems pretty devastating. Of the track of this tornado went through some fairly heavily populated areas, and I believe there's over 20 people who perished in the event.
Yeah, and it's a long stretch too, Mike. It's roughly 70, 80 miles in length and going almost directly west to east and striking parts of downtown Nashville, some damage there, parts of East Nashville, and then moved on about 70 miles to the east to Cookeville, Tennessee, where Tennessee Tech is located, and where I think 19 of the 20-plus fatalities happened to occur. But the fatalities alone does not tell the story, the devastation in terms of structure and so on. I can't believe this is a town that has had roughly 30-some construction cranes up, and I have not heard a story yet about any of the cranes being toppled by those winds, which I think is absolutely remarkable. As it happened, their chronology, we had no idea it was coming Monday night. We had just left Bridgestone Arena to go to the airport to fly to St. Paul. And when we were in the air, evidently, is when that hit. We felt no undue turbulence or anything like that. But when we land, all of a sudden, our phones are blowing up with video, etc. And it was, it's one of those times where, no, I don't want to call the wife and wake her up, but yes, I want to call the wife to see if she could be awakened. Right. And, so that's what we did.
Yeah. And as I was telling you, Pete, and it wasn't at anywhere close to the scale of the tornadoes that hit Tennessee. But I was rather close to a tornado that hit Western New York back in '85 or '86. It hit a building right next to a building that I worked at, and I was in the area minutes after, and just to see a building that you thought was like solid as a rock have its roof completely ripped up, and to see debris flying in the air for hours afterward, it's just amazing that the power of Mother Nature that it has, and the devastation it can really inflict.
Well, I grew up in Tornado Alley in Illinois.
Oh,
there
wow.
were more than a few times where I had to ditch my father's car in a ditch to get out of the way of that. And the only thing I had to do after that was get a new hubcap for him, thankfully. And that was a scary moment. And they happen at totally unpredictable times, as we've seen in Missouri, Oklahoma, over the course of the last few years. As a matter of fact, when Nashville got hit with the big flood in 2010, right in the midst of the playoffs, the weekend before, a tornado hit here also. We were on the air at the United Center in Chicago, and I found out that they juggled all the broadcast channels here, and all of a sudden, the NBC feed of Predators hockey was being put on what would normally be Telemundo. So I handed a note around the window to Doc Emmerich and said, "You are now Miguel Emmerich. You are working with Eduardo Olczyk, and Pedro Maguire is between the benches right now."
Pedro, that's good.
That's great.
Okay, let's talk about some of the action on the ice.
Wait, actually, I have another question about that, Pete. So if we're watching that game at home, do we not hit the SAP button then because they were speaking in English on a Spanish station?
I think we probably should have. And by the way, that's my solution for local telecasters getting knocked off the air when a national broadcaster comes in.
Yes.
SAP. Easy solution for everybody.
You know what? I amen, because I'll bring it to, like, even though Russ doesn't want to hear about my favorite baseball team.
Because you're whining about it. Nobody.
Shut up.
Things people don't want to hear about.
There we go.
The Yankees not winning, and then whining why they're not winning.
Let me make my point. But one of the things that I don't appreciate during the playoffs, especially when the games are on TBS or Fox, is I don't get a chance to hear. Now I can hear John Sterling on the radio because I have the MLB app, and I can listen because I pay $20 for it, and I can listen to the games on my phone. But I like the play-by-play of Michael Kay that he does on Yes, and because they are done. Their broadcasting is done at the end of the regular season. You can't hear him doing play-by-play. And one of the things that was suggested was to have them do a sort of a secondary broadcast. I'd be all in favor of that because, I mean, give fans, it doesn't matter what sport, give fans more options. Sometimes they're paying for the center ice package or they're paying for the MLB package. Give them options. Don't give us this, one thing for the NHL center ice package, you get one, I'm on a cable network. Yeah. You only get one broadcast. You only so if it's Nashville, Minnesota, you're either getting the Minnesota broadcast or the Nashville broadcast. The only time you get the option is if there's only 2 or 3 games on that night. Yeah. They give you both of them. Otherwise, you're subject to what they're giving you, and the fans should have options. Yeah,
as they said over Stephen Austin when they were rebuilding him, we have the technology.
Right. Yes. Wasn't he in what was that stupid stuntman show that he was in? Lee Majors.
Fall Guy.
That was so bad. Anyway, okay. let's get to the games, the action on the ice. Okay, start with the Predators, because a couple days ago, Pete, I said the Predators are well positioned. I mean, they've struggled for a while. We've seen the struggles of their goaltending, the coaching change from Laviolette to John Hines, but they were at 72 points. They had a couple games in hand. They were in the second wildcard spot, and now they get blown out by Edmonton, and they also lose to Minnesota 3-1. I mean, now they're still in a decent position, but not as good as they were a few days ago.
Right. Games in hand, and they have them still, but only make a bit of a difference if you can win those games in hand. And that third period against Edmonton the other night, I know there are many fans who look at me strangely and say, hey, the game was tied after 2. But then the nuclear meltdown in the third period, as it became Leon Draisaitl night at Bridgestone Arena, a hat trick in the third period alone. And then last night's game, they played much better in Minnesota, but they couldn't beat Alex Stalock. The local kid makes good for them. Mm-hmm. And that that was another case of two good periods put together, but the first period was one they could not overcome. And now all they have is back-to-back Dallas. Dallas here tomorrow night, at Dallas Saturday afternoon, and then another bit of an Eastern trip where they head on to Montreal, Toronto, and go to Columbus, and then guess what? Back to Minnesota, where they had not played this year until last night, and now they play there twice in 12 days.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, let's start with the back-to-back Dallas, because that was the last time I saw you was at the Winter Classic where they lost to Dallas.
Yep.
And we talked about the team, and to be honest, they're still suffering from the same stuff. They're going up and down. They haven't really cured their problems. I was surprised, and I don't know if you were at the deadline, that they didn't try and move out Granlund. They're going to, I guess he's an own rental now because they're not going to be able to get a draft pick, I don't think, for him at the draft. Like, there wasn't much that David Poile did to sort of change this team up. And now you kind of wonder, like the other day, it did look good when Mike said it, and then he clearly jinxed them. And now, but now, like, I don't know what to expect from this team anymore.
I have not known what to expect for quite some time. I go to the rink every day and wonder what it is we are going to see. The one thing that was steady for them was if their forecheck game was going, they're going to be in good shape. I haven't seen it for a while. They're better in the defensive zone now than they were, Russ, when I saw you in Dallas. They have straightened that out. But it's kind of intriguing that in this era, they have gone away from, let's say, Bobby Knight's strict man-to-man to playing zone in their defensive end. But earlier in the year, I felt really sorry for the goaltenders because they were pretty much left out on an island for a good period of time.
All right, let's just sort of do a little bit of an overview on the Western Conference because, Pete, you see it a lot more than we do. Right now, Vegas is leading by 2 points over Edmonton in the Pacific Division.
Yep.
Calgary is, I think, 1 point behind Edmonton, although actually after they beat Dallas yesterday, I think it's now 3 points. I'm just pulling up the standings now.
I got it for 5, right?
Yeah, 5 points. 5 points.
Yeah.
It was 3, now it's 5.
Yeah.
And Calgary at 75 points, Vancouver at 74. Mark Stone's loss is probably going to be extremely big for Vegas because he's a really important player for them. But we did see the benefit of that trade that they made for Robin Lehner yesterday because he plays great in their victory, and they give Marc-Andre Fleury some rest. I mean, we don't know how serious the injury to Stone is. It's not going to be surgical. It is week to week. But what are your feelings on Vegas in that division?
Well, I think, number one, the Leonard trade they made is going to be huge for them because now they have 2 goaltenders I think they can count on. Now, will that be enough to overcome the loss of Stone? Don't know, but I think they have enough other offensive weapons that they can probably survive while he is out. Vegas was the team that I thought, as we came to the turn of the calendar to 2020, was probably best positioned in the Pacific Division.
Yeah, and Russ can attest to this. I've been consistent in saying that Edmonton was going to miss the playoffs, and even though it appears that they're not going to miss, I'm going to stick with my opinion till the bitter end. But I mean, right now, they survived the suspension to Cassian. They survived most of the injury to Clefbaum. I don't think Neil is back. McDavid is back. No. So they've survived most of the losses that they had right before the deadline. And I have to give them credit because, I thought that was going to be the death blow to them. But again, unless they finish second, I mean, everybody's hoping they finish second and Calgary finishes third because that will be a turf war. It'll be a bloodbath. I can't wait for that.
From where you grew up, Mike, that would be where Irv Weinstein would be talking about plasma necessary for tonight's contest.
Yes, fire, film at 11, fires in Cheektowaga. There you go. Yes.
The Blaisdell Blazebusters are out after it again. Yeah.
This is more Buffalo talk than we need on the show.
We'll be serving beef on weck after the show.
Okay.
But I mean, you've seen Edmonton in the last couple of days.
Yes.
I just don't know. I mean, they have two of the top 3 or 4 best forwards in the NHL. I just don't know how complete that team is to be able to win a round in the playoffs. I didn't think it was enough to make the playoffs, but I don't know if they can win a round in the playoffs. What do you think?
If they can get James Neal back and healthy, I think that will make things a lot easier for them. Now, they split up McDavid and they split up Draisaitl on different units. And then all of a sudden the other night, they're playing together and not on power play, but in regular 5-on-5 play. That's scary, number one, to be able to see that. And and McDavid scored a goal the other night where he's just like lounging around, skating here, skating there, darts out to the blue line, then all of a sudden turns and fires one over Pekka Rinne's shoulder. But Draisaitl was the one who has had the most impact. So if you have the two guys, it's kind of like what you think about. I thought if they get, not that he's going to be in the same lines with them, though I think Neal would be probably with McDavid, and Yamamoto has come on very well.
Yeah.
But I think it would be kind of like what we had in the olden days where we had the goal a game line in Madison Square Garden.
Now, I do want to mention, for all the people that were giving Mike and I grief about Neal, he had that hot start. He hasn't scored a goal since New Year's Eve.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
What does he have? He has less than 20. He started off with like 10 in the first.
He has 19.
Oh, yeah. he had 10 in the first 15 games?
Yeah, and he had a hat trick on New Year's Eve. And he's playing a little better than we thought he would, simply because of the guys he was playing with. But at the end of the day, now at the end of the year, I don't know if I can count on James Neal in the playoffs to actually score goals. Like that's iffy.
If he's healthy. Yeah, exactly. And he had when the Preds went to the finals in 2017, he played the final series with a broken finger. And the index finger, guys, you can tell how great that situation that would be.
Yeah. I think the CBC would throw millions of dollars in bribes just to get Calgary Edmonton in that first round, because I know their ratings would go through the roof.
They would.
The one thing about that potential series is that these are two flawed teams, Pete.
Yeah.
Look at the goaltending. I don't think Koskinen is a world beater. Mike Smith is a veteran guy. Rittich has been overplayed for Calgary. Talbot has come on. Maybe Talbot would be the guy they go with in the playoffs, although they went with Mike Smith last year instead of Rittich in the postseason. So, and I think that the play of both teams forwards, with the exception of McDavid and Draisaitl, had been sort of up and down and spotty at best. So the war that would bring between Kachuk and Lucic and some of the other players in Cassian, I'm eagerly anticipating that first round match.
And what happens to the survivor if that match comes to pass? Will they have anything left? Yeah, no. I don't think they would.
No, you're right. I have breaking news, Mike.
Go ahead.
The guy that you were hoping was on steroids, Pete Alonso, is mic'd up at the moment, and we're missing that. But I do want to mention that.
God, I can't. I have to leave and watch that, Russ.
I just have to mention that he just came out and said he makes his own deer venison jerky.
Okay. So did Jordan Tutu.
Jeez, you had to break in with that.
Yes,
Thanks a lot.
people are enjoying that.
Okay.
Yes.
We don't have the Nightline sounder, so he had to do.
No, we don't have that.
Where's Ted Koppel when you need him? Okay, switching to the Central. I think the top three in that division are home and cooled out. I don't think it's just going to be what order they finish in.
Yeah.
But of those three, I mean, I have to say, even though they are challenged in terms of scoring goals, Pete, the Dallas Stars play the playoff hockey that can win. And even though they're in third place and probably won't win first, I'd be a little scared of them if I was St. Louis or I was Colorado, because they can play shutdown really well.
They can. And the other team that scares me is the one you mentioned there, Colorado. That is an incredible group, and I can't believe what they've accomplished with the injuries they've had to overcome.
Yeah, it's amazing. We've been talking about that.
I mean, look at that team, and look what they're doing. What were we talking about did we have a conversation where we mentioned Pavel Francouz at this time a year ago? I don't think so.
Yeah,
They were the only club offered a deal.
Only if we were talking about the KHL, because that's where he was last year, right? I mean, yeah. I saw him play a couple games ago, and I've only seen him play 2 or 3 times. He's pretty damn good. I mean,
yes, he is.
Yeah. So, now the wild card race is really tight. I mean, right now, Calgary really is still in it, even though they're in 3rd place in the Pacific with 75 points. But it's Vancouver and Winnipeg at 74, Minnesota at 73, Nashville and Arizona at 72, and then it drops to Chicago at 68. I think Chicago's out of it, but mathematically they're not. I mean,
right.
Of that group, Pete, who do you think had the best chances of getting the 2 wild cards?
Well, the Predators have the best situation with the schedule, I think. But they might look really good right now on paper. And the Preds on paper have been a different situation, what they've been actually on the ice. Mm-hmm. So now to see who shows up for John Hines, and for example, last night, they didn't have Ryan Johansson or Colin Blackwell for that matter, but the name Johansson because they were ill earlier in the day, so they couldn't play. They bring up Yakov Trenin, who might be becoming a bit of a folk hero for putting one on the button of Zdeno Chara early in January. I was staggered, as was Zdeno, seeing that, and that was one where he wasn't looking for Chara, but Chara looked for him after a collision, and then Chara, the night before he was supposed to have his jaw rewired, sort of got it rearranged non-surgically.
Right. Yeah, well, Trenin doesn't surprise me. I mean, I covered him before, and he's Russian strong, and he's got speed. He has skill. He just got lost, I think, in the Nashville system because they had so many veterans.
And he has good hands too.
Yeah,
not just for them.
No, for playing. Playing, he does. He does have good hands. So it's good that they do have guys like him that they can bring up.
Yeah, I was gonna say he has good hands like Steve Durbano, or good hands.
No.
Good hands, Steve Durbano. That's a good
like Dale Puritan.
Oh God.
Oh.
Come on, Russ. Paul Baxter. How about that? I'll throw a Paul Baxter from the Penguins.
Paul Baxter, who lives here in Nashville.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. Yeah. Talk about a couple of the games last night. We were just touching on the Leafs in San Jose. Toronto's right now in a fortuitous position, but it could very easily not be if they lose games that they should win. And last night they go to San Jose. They were well rested. They wanted to get Freddie Anderson a couple extra days of rest on the long stretch here for the stretch run. They played Jack Campbell. He played great, but the problem is that the rest of the Leafs team didn't show up. They were outplayed for most of the first 40 minutes, but we're still tied 2-2 thanks to a nice Austin Matthews goal and a phenomenal goal by Mitch Marner. But third period, San Jose gets 2 quick goals, and that's been the problem with the Leafs. They have had these stretches where they play good for a while, and then they will give up goals in clusters, and it's almost impossible even for a team that has the offensive ability that they do to catch up once that happens.
Yeah, and Jack Campbell, from his background, is sort of familiar with that sort of support or lack thereof this year, right? So it's not like he's all of a sudden stepped into a unusual for him situation, but that is very unfortunate for him. The guy that Peterson left behind in Los Angeles, I'm looking for him to continue to mature and maybe be the guy for the Kings next year.
Yeah, no, he's played well, and
Cal Peterson's been real good.
Russell talked about him for years, and I still think one of the big mistakes that the Sabres made a few years ago is he was a 5th-round pick of the Sabres. Yeah, they didn't sign him, and now they're waiting around for Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, their prize goalie prospect, who's probably a year or 2 away, and they're goaltending right now with Carter Hutton and Ullmark's been hurt, but they played Johansson. Yeah. It's not, I don't think it's top 20 in the league. They don't really have a number 1, and that's really going to hurt the Sabres in terms of their ability to consistently win.
Yeah, it's going to. I don't think there's any question about that.
Now
that and a few other things.
That and a few other things. Yeah, we won't. We've talked about them.
That would take a long time.
Yes, we could do a whole show on that. The scariest moment of last night's games. We're not going to go through all the games, but the scariest moment last night was Johnny Boychuk getting skate cut by Arturi Lekkonen's skate after he had been knocked over. Hit him right on the face. Lou Lamoriello came out this morning and said that Boychuk is okay. He had 90 stitches.
90.
9-0. And part of the cut was on his eyelid. I think it was his right eye, but it didn't hurt his eye. They said he will be back, but with 90 stitches. This isn't Boreas Salming, Pete. Remember when he skated over on his face?
Right. I remember Donnie Luce too.
Yeah, I mean, Salming came back in a couple weeks. People were like shocked that he came back so quickly. I don't think it'll be that quick. And Russ, I know you talked about them losing Pelech. Now Boychuk, if he's out for a while, their defense is hurting.
No, I mean, they're going to bring up. They traded Sebastian Aho. I got to think about who they're going to bring up now.
They brought in Andy Green too, so that helped.
Right, but I mean, they're still one short. They're going to have to bring somebody up. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. This is going to be a tough stretch now for the Isles. These skate injuries, though, like I said, I've had discussions over the years with people about them, and always said, it doesn't happen that much. And this year, it's just everywhere. Like, Pete, why are there so many skate injuries? Have any ideas?
No ideas on that whatsoever. But it's scary. There's no question about that. And it seemed like we had more of them in the 70s, and then just a long period without them.
Right. And now I don't know if it's because skates are sharper, guys are faster, there's no reaction time. I don't know what the issue is, but it's an interesting one, and it is a scary one.
Well, thankfully, nothing at the level of Clint Malarchuk.
Yeah.
And
Richard Zednik. But I mean, you've seen Clutterbuck, who suffered a skate cut. He's been out for, I think, at least 6 weeks or 7 weeks. Ilya Mikheyev, the Russian rookie from the Leafs, had his wrist lacerated in late December, and he may not get back. So it may be a 3-month layoff. I know that the Leafs are implementing their minor league team to wear the Kevlar wrist protection. It's not optional; it's mandatory, and I don't know if that will happen in the league, but
it won't, because there's so many guys that don't want to wear it.
Yeah, and the PA will push.
And they don't want to wear the old gloves that went almost up to your elbows, which also protected you.
Yes.
You know who they could bring up if he's not injured? Thomas Hickey. They could bring up.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, there you go. Some news out of the GM meetings in Boca Raton. The big news was the announcement of a projection for the salary cap, and I have to caution everybody because we had a projection last year, which I think was supposed to be 83 or 84 million. And then the PA said, well, we're not going to take the escalator clause, and it ended up being 81.5.
Yeah.
Bill Daly came out and said that the projection is between 84 and 88.2 million. Pete, I don't think the players are going to sign off on that, especially in the last year of the CBA.
Yeah, I doubt it. I doubt it too. So let's see what happens, or if that would provoke serious discussion and maybe get a CBA extension.
I mean, if I'm Gary Bettman, I'd just say tough toenails. I mean, wait for the new TV deal. That's it.
Tough toenails?
Hey, you never heard that expression, Mike? Come on.
No, I've never heard it before. But
we use that all the time.
No, I would, if I had to guess, if I had to hazard to guess, I would say it'd probably be closer to 84. And, teams that are in cap hell, and Toronto is one of them, and there are a few of them, they want that amount as high as possible because it gives them more flexibility. If not, like I've said consistently for at least a year that with Toronto having 4 players making $40 million up front, they're probably going to have to trade one of them to be able to address their defensive issues. And they're not alone. There are other teams out there. I mean, Philadelphia is not exactly cap friendly.
Yeah, I'm looking them up for next year, actually.
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
We know Nashville right now, Pete. They re-signed Yossi. That deal kicks in next year.
Right.
We've heard the talk about Turris, and that contract, I believe, has 4 more years. It's $6 million.
Right.
I mean, if the cap goes up only marginally, I mean, what do you think David Poile does in terms of cap relief?
Yeah, because then he has Gronlund, and he has Craig Smith, who would be unrestricted.
Yeah, they're dropping off. So that's 10 million in space there, but you're talking.
So here's the predicament. You said it'll be 84.
Yeah.
All right. So right now, next year, Philly has 64 committed. They won't have a backup goalie. So whether they re-sign Brian Elliott or do something else, he was making $2 million. Whether he makes $1 million or they just go with somebody from the minors. Robert Hagg is an RFA, having a very good year. Philippe Myers having a great year is an RFA.
Mm-hmm.
Braun's a UFA. Maybe they bring him back, maybe they don't. And then the guys they just picked up are UFAs, and Pitlick's a UFA. So you got at least 3 or 4 or 5 contracts for $20 million.
Right.
And everybody will probably say, well, you just trained Shea Gostisbehere. And it's like, yeah, but you still like this is going to be a struggle for them next year with the cap that low.
And Pete, with Yossi's contract kicking in, he goes up from $4 million to a little over $9 million, and that eats up most of what they save on letting Granlund go. So, I mean, I look at their situation like I look at Toronto, and I'm thinking, you have to trade one of Johansson or Duchesne or Forsberg or Turris. And if it's Turris, you're probably going to have to give up something to get somebody to take that contract on.
Yeah, kind of like the deals have been made with Arizona over the years. Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. But I think based on what happened this year, the Players Association is not going to go the full 5% escalator clause, and it's going to be closer to the lower amount. And we also have to factor in, and I'll use this as a transition. We know that playoff gate revenue will contribute to what the cap, in terms of league revenue. And now with, this coronavirus scare right now, Pete, we don't know if things blow up, whether we'll be playing, there'll be games played with little or no people in the crowd. That could affect the bottom line in terms of, people going to games or willing to be going to games.
Or how about games without hockey sticks? Because the production of them has been shut down in China.
Well, just don't break any.
Yeah, there you go. We'll go back. No, I think
go back to wooden sticks.
Yannick Perreault will come back, and he'll start a line of wooden sticks, and he will become the richest man in the hockey universe.
Yeah, if I'm in Canada right now, I'm starting to make wooden sticks. I'm taking orders.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, but the tree huggers won't let them chop down the trees.
No, they have They have sustainable farming.
Yeah, they do.
But Bettman came out today and said NHL employees have been barred from all business travel outside of North America. Yeah. If employees travel by their own choice to areas affected by the coronavirus, they will be quarantined for 2 weeks. So they're really preparing for, a situation that could spread wildly. I mean, a lot of people are saying that this is, panic, but it's
not. I mean,
leagues have to plan.
Sure.
Then that's smart for them.
If you look at the numbers every day, they're doubling and tripling every day. Not so much for deaths, but for people that are getting quarantined. So it's a big deal. And you have to have a plan for it. It is possible it could affect some of the gate. And if it does, maybe we see a year where the cap doesn't go up. It is possible.
Yeah.
My wife was supposed to have gone to Italy with a group of 20-some yesterday.
Yeah.
And that was called off 2 days prior.
Yeah.
So that's just a small sample of all that.
Yeah, and I know that the recent canceling of some of the lower levels of the World Championship in Switzerland, that was because the coronavirus in Switzerland per capita is the only place that's close to how much it's spread there is in China. So it's like it's been really bad there, and there's a lot of I know Rene Fassel came out earlier in the week and said there was a possibility they would play the games in front of no crowds.
Yeah, and what about the World Championships coming up in Switzerland?
Yeah, that's what we mean. Yeah. Well, look, Mike, I mean, maybe I won't be up there in Buffalo. Maybe I'll have to actually cancel this time.
No, we don't have anything, Russ. Nothing. No.
Well, that's the truest thing you've ever said about Buffalo. All right, we can move on.
No, we're disease free here in Buffalo. The hot sauce from the chicken wings kills all diseases. They should use that as to cure it.
Russ, are you going up there for Dignus Day?
No, it would just be for the combine.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yes.
I try and limit my visits there. Once in a while, I pass through though.
Limit. Okay. No, I really disagree with the NHL doing this, and I hope they reconsider. But there is a focus on puck tracking that was talked about at the GM meetings that is going to be starting to be implemented at the beginning of the playoffs, which means that they're going to use different pucks in the playoffs. Pucks that can, I guess, track. They can track speed, they can track impact, and whatever. But you're going to it's Russ. It's like changing the ball in baseball for the World Series.
Yeah, they should have done it like with 15 games to go in the season at least, so you could see what's going to happen with that. Again, I don't understand the implementation of it. I don't. And if I were them, I'd have a bunch of the old ones ready because you just never know.
Right. I mean, I honestly, I would, if it's from the beginning of the season, Pete, I think that would make sense because it would give an entire year, an entire regular season for players to get used to the feel of the puck. And from what I've heard, there is a difference in the feel. And you don't want to have to be dealing with that kind of, random situation when the games really count in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
I would like to see this happen with Paul Kariya as an active player, knowing how how fastidious he was about things along these lines. That would be very curious to me.
Yeah. I have to say that there is a competition going on in professional sports for the most dysfunctional owner. I thought Jim Dolan was leading at the quarter pole, but Eugene Melnick is making a late charge.
He always does.
Yes, Eugene Melnick today, they fired their new CEO, Jim Little, after less than 2 months.
Yeah.
Because of, quote, conduct inconsistent with the core values of the Ottawa Senators and the National Hockey League. And Bettman was asked to comment on this at the GM meetings, and he says it's not what you think, but he didn't say anything further than that. So, Pete, I keep looking at the Ottawa Senators, and Russ and I have said this many times. I think that they're so dysfunctional that they're gonna be called the Quebec Nordiques in a couple of years.
That would not necessarily surprise me at all. I just feel sorry for any franchise going into Quebec City for one reason, and that is the taxation levels there and the difficulty they will have in signing free agents. You'll essentially have to pay a 40 or a 50% premium for them to get equivalent to what they would make someplace else.
Yeah. But I mean, the Ottawa situation has been remember 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, they were one goal away from the Stanley Cup final. That
Correct.
team is not even, you can't even recognize that team. Now they have a lot of good young players. Russ has been very complimentary of Pierre Dorian building that organization up.
Yeah, he can only do so much that you have to have veterans with him.
Right. And the thing is, when you have an owner who it just seems to be chaos every time he opens his mouth. I don't get it. I mean,
again, worst case scenario for the NHL, Ottawa somehow gets Alexis Lafreniere. And then in 2 years, he wants to, get a contract going because he's not going to wait for his rookie deal to run out. And then that's when we have problems in the league because I know everybody says, oh, no, Ottawa will give him the money. Ottawa has not given anybody the money.
Right.
Let's see him give Brady Tkachuk real money because, until they do, this is a big problem for the league. I know everybody wants to default and say, oh, well, they'll sign that downtown deal. That downtown deal has been dead now for like a year and a half and hasn't been revived. So I do worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, let's go back to Alexei Yashin in terms of, trying to get the pay level up.
Yeah, I know. I still remember
the Islanders wasted more.
I still remember
They did.
To be fair.
Bobby Holik making $9 million with the Rangers. I still don't understand that contract.
Jeff Finger making $4 million.
Finger. Jeez.
How many? I mean, what did do you want me to look up his stats for Jeff Finger? At least Holik did a little something.
Are we going to have a show about professional athletes named after body parts? Barry Leg, Jeff Finger. Wasn't there somebody named Hand?
We're not going to talk about one of my favorite former goaltenders because that would get obscene. First name Harry.
Okay. Pete, I know you have to go. We're very happy that you could join us
Thanks, Pete.
today. And
All right, sorry for the blip there on the.
That's all right.
no problem. No
We
problem.
must have had a power surge because they're taking care of other neighborhoods.
Yeah. Just glad your house is still there.
Yeah.
Thank you. As are we.
Yes, and we definitely would like to get you on before the playoffs, or if the Predators are not in after the playoffs start, for your expertise. But thank you very much for joining us.
I would like the Predators to make the playoffs, and I join you during that period of time.
That would be great. Thanks, Pete.
Thank you, guys.
Pete Weber, always great.
Amazing.
Okay, let's take some questions in the chat, and then we'll end it there. But and I know somebody mentioned Mike Komisarek. I don't know why they mentioned him, but
it's always fun. You always bristle at Mike Komisarek.
Oh, probably because of the bad contract. But
Right, Long Island home.
Funny thing is, he played pretty well for Montreal. It was just like
He did. I don't know what happened to him. He was, again, going into his draft year, which was like 2001, I think, very highly touted. At that point, you didn't have to be the best skater to be in the league, and he was tough. Like, there was a decent career on the horizon. I don't know what happened.
He played with Andrei Markov in Montreal, and Pete, I think
Yeah.
that helped him. That helped cover up some of his
Yeah, I guess so.
So
I do want to. I have other breaking news.
Go ahead.
For people that didn't think the Red Sox season was over, they're getting a third opinion on Chris Sale's elbow. A third.
Oh boy. Well, I mean, they pretty much wrote off this year when they traded.
Some of the fans did, and I know they were half and half on it. Now at this point,
yeah, I know. I think. Let's see here. Questions in the chat. Shoot them our way. Yeah, the Quebec No, it won't be the Quebec Senators. That makes no sense.
No, they would definitely get rid of that name.
That's like the Utah Jazz. It makes there's a big jazz market in Salt Lake City.
Maybe there is. You don't know.
There's not. I know.
You've been there?
I have not, but somebody that I know has. There is no.
All right.
There's no jazz in Salt Lake City. It's Mormon jazz. Okay, question here from Thomas Smith.
Wait, hold on. There's a Salt Lake City Jazz Festival every year.
Yeah, I'm talking about based in Salt Lake City. It's not
This is the official site of the Salt Lake City Jazz Festival. You're wrong, Mike.
No, I'm not.
You want me to give you the link? I'll give you the
No,
link.
you don't have to give me the link. I'm not.
It's been going on since 2001.
He always tries to prove me wrong, doesn't he?
It's not me. Google did. It was easy.
Thomas Smith asks, do you agree that the worst trade that the Leafs made in the modern era was prospect Tuukka Rask for Andrew Raycroft? No,
but it's one of them. I mean, I was just going to say, I knew that day it was a horrible trade because I'd seen him in the World Juniors and completely didn't understand the deal and knew that Rask was an NHL goalie and going to be a number one. Like, you could tell from that World Juniors winning best goalie, he had that in him.
And what makes that trade even worse is that Jeff Gorton, who was the interim GM in Boston at the time, gave John Ferguson Jr. the option of which goalie to choose, and he chose to trade Rask over Justin Pokey.
Yeah.
Which just has to tell you why John Ferguson is hated in Toronto and called the Fergler on one of the radio stations with reckless abandon. And he's
still in the league and he's still doing well, Mike. That's all I know.
And gee, what a shock! He's working for the Bruins. That's like pay after the fact. No, Thomas, I think the worst trade made by the Leafs in the modern era, and I actually wrote like a top 20 worst trades, which is sad because you would think that there aren't 20 bad trades, but the Leafs have them. I think the worst one was the Kessel deal. 2 first-round picks.
Yeah, that's bad.
Now Kessel's a great player, but he's not a franchise player, and the Leafs were not that good of a team going into that year. And Brian Burke tried to fast forward the rebuild, and he ends up giving Boston Tyler Seguin, who thankfully they wasted and traded away. Otherwise, he'd be haunting the Leafs for a decade.
I mean, let's not forget about the Flyers trade for Adam Oates. That was a first, a second, and a third.
No, and Funky says the Kadri trade. No. Please. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like Kadri, but Kadri had to go because of because of helping them blow 2 first-round matchups against the Bruins with his inability to curb his temper and take get suspended twice. And I think he was a luxury that they couldn't afford. He was a third-line center making almost $5 million when you had Matthews and Tavares. Their mistake on that deal was not getting a defenseman who was a long-term fix instead of
actually. I've got a worse trade, Mike.
Kordic for Ross Courtnall.
No, when the Bruins traded Craig Janney and Stefan Quintal for Adam Oates.
That was Boston and St. Louis, right?
Yeah, Craig Janney was light in 92. I think he was still lighting it up.
Oh yeah, he was Cam Neely's center. So
right.
Yeah. I believe he was. Yeah, he was Cam Neely's center.
So that's a pretty bad trade. I mean, Quintal was a good player too, but let's see, Craig Janney. Let's see what he did, because I think that was the start of his Blues career, right? Yeah. So 92-93, he had 106 points. Then he had 84 points. Then he had 82 points, but that was after he was traded again. That was a bad trade, Boston.
Yeah,
Adam Oates is a great player, but some of the trades for him were ridiculous.
Yeah. All right, let's see here. A couple more questions. Joe Morello thinks Brendan Shanahan is the problem in Toronto.
I'm not going to say he's not the problem. At this point, I think he has to be looked at. I do.
Well,
you can't have blind Shanny loyalty anymore. You can't.
I don't. I'm looking.
No, I'm not saying you do. I'm just saying in general, I don't think you can.
No, but I think right now where the Leafs organization is now as compared to where it was when Shanahan took the job in 2014 is leaps and bounds. And they're a much better run organization. At that point it was a chaotic situation.
That part's better, but they're not progressing any further yet.
Right. I mean, the one thing, and I know it gets old to hear, but the one thing I think that they made a mistake on, I was in favor of the Tavares signing. I don't think that they should have. I think Dubas didn't get taken to the cleaners, but I think he should have held the line a little more against Matthews and Marner to get them to sign for less than $10 million. He paid them what they I think closer to what they were looking for, and I think that they can't afford the luxury of a $7 million complimentary player, Nylander. So when it comes to the summer, and they're gonna move out some salary, and this is dependent on what the salary cap is going to be. If the salary cap is $86 million, then they have a little more flexibility to do some things. If it's 84 or 83 and a half, then they're going to have to make a decision. And I don't think you can bring in a defenseman making $3 million by trading Kasperi Kapanen or Alex Kerfoot. I think you need to it's been proven that they need a top pairing defenseman. And I don't think you can get one in free agency unless you're willing to overpay Alex Pietrangelo, or the only way I think you can get it is by trading Nylander either to open up cap space or in exchange for that defenseman. So that's where I think they're at, but we'll see what happens, how far they get in the playoffs, if they make the playoffs, and what they do.
I do have to break in again with real news. So this is similar to what we were just talking about with how the season could be affected. So right now, this moment, LA County has declared a local health emergency with the coronavirus in LA City and County due to confirmed cases. They have 7 known cases right now in the county. So every day it gets a little worse with this. And I think because of the tests, the kits not being available, and the CDC wasn't letting everybody test right away because there weren't enough kits available. Now that there's more kits available, they're finding more cases. And so this could affect late season hockey attendance. There's no question.
Yeah. For some reason, Anna Kournikova's name has come up in the chat. I don't even want to know why.
No, find out why.
Something about Bure and Fedorov fighting.
Oh, who cares?
Yeah, Zippity do that. Okay, I can't talk about that.
What? Talk about it. What?
No. It was just a stupid cat scratch fever joke. It was like,
Okay.
we really don't want to go down the.
Ed Nugent's a jerk. Move on.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I didn't want to go down that road. Bill C asks, are there any drafted NCAA players you see making the jump to the NHL at the end of the season? I can think of one, and it's only because the team might want to get him signed, and that's Caulfield.
Yeah, Caulfield's one, but a guy having a better year, third-year player for UMass is John Leonard, 27 goals in 32 games. I think San Jose is going to try and get him locked up because they need a youth movement, and if they could get him going, that's a nice step. I saw him score a hat trick a couple of weeks ago, so that's another guy. Beyond those two, there's probably somebody I'm not thinking of right this moment, but those two jump to the head for me.
Yeah. Okay. We'll stop there, and we'll be back tomorrow. We may have back tomorrow. Let's see. There was one other thing I wanted to say. Oh, wait. Joe has a question here. Russ, why isn't Quinn playing Capo Caco in the top 6?
Because Capo Caco is overmatched right now at the NHL level. He gets some good chances, but if he doesn't bury them, there's not a lot else he does on the ice. And his skating needs work. So you can't continue to put him on the top 2 lines if he doesn't put out points like a top 6 player. He's got 20 points in 62 games. You can't play him in that spot.
Yeah. All right. Like I said, we'll be back tomorrow with another edition of the Hockey Buzzcast. For Pete Weber, our guest, for Russ Cohen, I'm Michael Agello. Thanks for watching. And remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey.